What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared Haas, and welcome back to another edition of NASCAR Mailbox. This week, we're going to dive into the questions after the races at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And now I want to talk about these dimpled windshields that blew off the roof of the 41 truck during the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race this weekend, and talk about Layne Riggs' truck as well. Now, if you note that Bayley Currey was driving the number 41 truck, and all of a sudden his just roof flaw, it made it more or less a convertible. Bayley Currey couldn't finish that day. He was out of the race due to damage, and thus I think that's why NASCAR necessarily didn't penalize him. He was already penalized for not finishing the race. Wouldn't have made too much of a difference disqualify him versus be where he finished, which was out of the race. NASCAR's still looking at the 41 roof, so that doesn't happen again. But the same issue happened with the 38, but the 38 roof didn't fall off. This was the same team, remember, that last year, Zane Smith at Homestead, they had the bow in the windshield with these fasteners. And it's all about reducing drag in this situation, because these trucks put a big hole in the air, and with any little advantage you can get, it is going to be more helpful for your team in order to be better in the draft and be a faster car. These are the teams they're trying to manipulate, not necessarily not having these fasteners, but maybe having them loose, because when you have them, the trucks at a standstill, you didn't see the flex on the windshields like you do at speed when there's a lot more air going through, hitting the windshield, since they're going a lot faster. So it more or less happened to Bayley Currey's windshield was like a can of biscuits. So if you open a can of biscuits and you kind of press on that cease right there, it's going to bend a little bit. You're going to feel a little bit of pressure, and then all of a sudden, poof, like a can of biscuits, the biscuits fall out. And that's what happened between the roof and the windshield, and the roof flew off of the truck. So it's an aerodynamic advantage that these teams are trying to get. Playing between the gray and white and black lines of the rule book, I'm guessing because of the 38 team, they said that was either loose or not on there. My speculation is more loose, since NASCAR was probably looking for it, as this was the mile and a half track. The last mile and a half track was Zane Smith, where he got penalized for that. So I think it's just teams just trying to manipulate the drag as much as they can, trying to reduce as much as they can, just trying to get an aerodynamic advantage because of how tight the competition is. So my reasoning is probably the 41 team. They were already out of the race to do the damage. Layne Riggs finished well, and that's why they DQ'd the 38 and not the 41. And this next question comes from S. Bishop VT 4650. They ask, is the process of getting driver interviews chaos? Well, I'm going to answer this as, from my experience, not really. It's knowing where to go and where to find the drivers. A little bit with NASCAR procedure. Usually they bring the top 5 onto pit road. Usually that's where TV's at. They interview them afterwards, and then you'll see media scrums happen after those TV interviews usually. But if you're looking for someone that's not necessarily in the top 5, you've got to be aware where those cars are going to be parked. Sometimes if it's like a Truck Series race right before an Xfinity Series race, usually they will bring the competitors into the garage area instead of onto pit road. Like I said, you've got to be careful. You got to look for where they're going to be and go from where they're at. So sometimes they might be on pit road. That the storyline that we're looking for is in the garage, or it actually might be in there. The only chaotic part is a driver that you're expecting to interview that's top 5, and then it crashes out late. I'm thinking Super Speedway, for example. Bubba Wallace last year, the Spring Talladega race, which I covered, he was running up in the top 5. If he didn't wreck, he would have been on pit road if we were getting a story on him. But instead, he wrecked, so you'd have to go to the infield care center, and then we had to go to the care center, which is a little bit of a hike from pit road to where the top 5 cars to the care center. So you've got to be strategic on where you're going to be, but it's a controlled chaos once you've understand and covered a few races. I've done multiple post-race interviews, so I understand the ebbs and flows, but from a first-time person, it does, and it is chaotic. Thank you very much for watching. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. That really helps out our content out. And make sure to tune in next week after the races at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Until then, as always, have a great race weekend.
This is Parker Chase. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out some of our other videos over here on the right. And be sure to visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.